And it's kind of the opposite of I guess talking about the weather, isn't it? Like that we were talking about that in our Reconnect meeting this morning, how we kind of default to talking a lot about the weather, and that's kind of, you know, just how our brain's on automatic. And what we're looking at here is the opposite of that, of when we're feeling spontaneous and surprising ourselves and allowing ourselves to do what we really want to do versus going back to those shoulds, what we think we should be doing. And there's in Tantra they talk about there's a difference between impulse and spontaneity. That there is a space between impulse and analysis, and that space is spontaneity. So it's not about being a slave to all my, oh, I just want to do this and I want to do this, and kind of not really being very aware. And oh, Amit and I were talking about this yesterday, I'm feeling rubbish, so I'm just going to have a chocolate bar. You know, it's not about that. And it's also not about, right, what is it that I really need, and what do I really, you know, I'm really getting up in our heads about things. It's the space between, the space of spontaneity. And I wonder how much of that each of us is experiencing in our lives at the moment.
I think the thing is as well, which always I've learned that guides you on stuff like this is what is what, and whether it be spontaneous or whether it be something like that, which it would be for me. Like, oh, I think I have a chocolate bar. Is what feeling goes with it. If it's got a free feeling with it, if it's got something that genuinely feels like you're being curious about it and sparks something, to me that would probably point me in the direction of it's something I'm doing that's spontaneous. Where if it's something repetitive, like you say, Emma, and as a different type of feeling of I need this or something, maybe less spontaneous.
I was sharing about the slide thing as well, and listening to Tom, that feeling, and talking about joy. That feeling of joy comes to us because it is the feeling of what life is supposed to be about. It is the feeling of how we are actually designed. It's almost like a relief, like coming down that slide, like, oh, it's actually this easy and this fun. And even when we're very much up in our heads, analysing, trying to control, life still works like that. It doesn't change just because we're doing a lot of thinking. It's just that our experience of life feels more difficult, but it's still a spontaneous overall experience because we literally cannot control like everything that's going on and happening. It just looks like we can. Even when we have a thought of, I'll go and buy a chocolate bar, I'll have a coffee. The question is, where does that thought come from?
So there's so much in what you guys have said there, and I think when you strip it back down to truth, what you've all been saying there, I think if you live life or try and live life or try and see it as much as possible, in my opinion, when we see it, that psychologically we're okay no matter what. We've always got that well-being inside of us. Now, that doesn't mean physically might not be the case, because obviously if you're doing something like you're describing, Bella, you could have an accident, you could physically hurt yourself. But for me, beyond that, if you know that you're always okay no matter what, and you know that fear, in the moments I see fear is just something I make up. It can only ever be, just like any emotional feeling I'm ever going to have, there's only ever one reason for it, and that's thought in the moment. Yeah. If I'm scared, it's because I'm having scared thoughts. I've been watching that with myself lately as I've been going in and out of things, and literally from minute to minute, I can wake up in the morning and have anxious thoughts that will literally put blinkers on me, and I go, and my ability to come up with ideas or be creative or problem solve, as you just explained, Bella, just becomes ridiculously small and finite. And in the next moment, I see all that falling away because I've realised that it's not real where it's coming from. what you described, Tom, my mind settles, and all of a sudden I've got all these ideas and all these ways to do things. And it really, the beauty of this understanding it is so
How
simple.
often are we in that state of joy and things flowing, and how often do we feel to be more caught up in our heads? And then the second question, which I've just posed to Scott, is getting curious about who is that I in which all of that is happening through. Is it all of it's just happening? You know, when we say I then get in control and I'm my rational, what is that really an I, or is that also just happening in a spontaneous way?
Getting curious and questioning, do we have fixed ideas about why we can't be spontaneous or joyful because, in this certain scenario, if I do this job or whatever, can I not be like that?
Yeah,
Get curious about that.
Which is what Amit's precisely questioning.